2 months ahead of the Winter Olympics in Beijing, there are new calls for the IOC to abandon China and to hold the games in another country after a Chinese tennis player disappeared for a while after she accused a former top government official of sexually assaulting her. And now they have put her in front of video cameras, it appears, but not everybody is convinced that her claims that she is safe and fine are actually true. In moments, Boston Celtics center ENES Kanter, is calling on other athletes.
University of Kentucky alum, for those of you who haven't looked it up
But
yet.
first, to State Department correspondent Benjamin Hall. Hi, Benjamin.
Yeah, hi Martha. And a couple of different boycotts are being discussed at the moment. One is a full boycott, which means no one would go to the Olympics. The other is a diplomatic boycott, which means the athletes would go, but officials from the US would not. And the reason they are still talking about boycotts is because the whereabouts of tennis star Peng Shuai remains a mystery. Yes, we've seen pictures of her at a restaurant. Yes, there is the video of her talking to IOC chiefs. But most people believe those were staged and coerced. The Chinese government has a long history of silencing high-profile dissenters, then forcing them to appear on video to recant allegations. Critics now say the Olympic Committee has become a vehicle for Chinese propaganda, and they're calling for tougher responses.
If the Chinese Communist Party will take its own athletes and disappear them and then march them out in hostage videos like this, what will they do to our athletes? This is a regime that is committing genocide against its own people. We should not be doing anything to celebrate or honor China with these Olympics Games.
Peng, who had accused a former member of the Communist Party of sexual assault, suddenly disappeared in public view earlier this month. The Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs today saying people should stop politicizing the issue. Now, Senator Marsha Blackburn has said that there should be freedom games held in the US instead.
It wasn't a real person. You're missing the
Senator
point
Ted
of the
Cruz
doubt.
going in a different direction, saying that athletes should go to China.
He's rolling in his grave.
They should just go there
Whatever
to
his
beat
real
the
name.
commies. Martha?
Benjamin Hall, thank you very much. My next guest tweeted, quote, "Move the Olympics for Peng Shuai's sake. It's time for us to wake up and speak up. All the gold medals in the world aren't worth selling your morals, values, and your principles." Boston Celtics center ENES Kanter joins me now. ENES, thank you very much. It's great to have you with us today, and you've shown so much courage in speaking out about this. And I loved how in the piece that you wrote in the Wall Street Journal, you cited what's possible when athletes speak out, citing Bill Russell stood up against racial injustice, Muhammad Ali against the Vietnam War, Arthur Ashe against apartheid in South Africa. Why do you think, do you feel like you're alone when you're, putting all of these things on your sneakers and protesting China?
I mean, someone had to do it. You see there's so many athletes, so many actors, so many singers and rappers out there. They're scared. They're scared to say a word because they care too much about their money. They care too much about their endorsement deals. They care too much about what the teams that they play for are going to say. But, they should know one thing. It should be morals and principles over money. It shouldn't be the opposite way, because people's lives depends on this, and it's so important, especially athletes, because there are so many young generation out there watching us and idolizing us. So if we don't stand up against these dictatorships, who will? So to me, it was really important, and I do feel alone, yes, because so many people out there are scared to say a word because they care too much about the business side of it. But to me, human rights are way more important than everything you can offer me.
Well, good for you're setting such an important example, and I want to play a soundbite from the IOC Vice President John Coates, who seems to have trouble with this issue. Well, he says we can't do anything about what's going on in China. I mean, we're the International Olympic Committee. Go ahead, watch this. Oh, this is a full screen quote. Sorry, we have no ability to go into a country and tell them what to do. All we can do is award the Olympics to a country under conditions set out in the host contract. What would you say to him about what he should do about this?
I mean, first of all, the Chinese Communist Party does not represent the Olympic values of excellence, of respect, of friendship, and they are a brutal dictatorship, and they engage in censorship, they threaten the freedoms, and they don't respect human rights, and they hide the truth. And while we're speaking right now, Martha, there is a genocide happening. There are millions of people in concentration camps, which I speak to many of them in America. You know, they're getting tortured and they're getting gang raped every day. So you're thinking about putting Olympic Games in a country like this. It is unacceptable. You know, it's a shame that international, Olympic Committee are doing this, but I feel like we should definitely stand up to these organizations and definitely should push to move the games somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, the Tennis Association's getting some praise for, really pushing back on this issue. They're probably the first people who've kind of done that after you. But the NBA has a terrible record of this. So what is it like for you in your sport when you're speaking out? And, people have been fired or suspended from their jobs for even suggesting that we should support Taiwan or things along those lines.
I applaud Women's Tennis Association. What a brave organization. I feel like every organization in the world, especially in America, organizations like NBA, NFL, NHL, MLS, MLB should take notes because they care about their players more than the business and money. And when I saw the comment of WTA, it gave me so much hope and motivation because this is the start. This is the start when people start waking up. But I think, the one important thing is people's life, athletes' life is way more important than business side of it. So I feel like we should definitely hold these organizations accountable, especially when they call themselves as social justice organizations. But if it affects their money, if it affects their pocket and their business, they are telling us to remain silent. But I feel like we have a huge platform and we need to use this platform.
Well, there are a lot of questions about this video that Peng Shuai put out and whether or not she is okay. But one thing we know is that she's an incredibly courageous young woman because what she did, speaking out, was very, very, very risky in China, that she's calling out this man who had served in the government in high levels. So we're going to watch this. Thank you very much for what you do and for putting this front and center. You wear sneakers that say she is a control freak and other stuff on the side. We've seen a lot on the basketball courts and people speaking their minds about things, but it's pretty refreshing to see that you're so willing to take such a strong stand on this. Thank you so much, ENES. Great to talk to you. Hope you'll come back soon.
Thank you, Martha.